So, is Australia on the cusp of another major crisis? Let's hope not. We now know, though, that foot and mouth viral fragments have been detected in Australia in meat products and have been brought into the country from Indonesia and also China. Well, there are fears the disease could decimate the nation's livestock industry, with just one positive case posing a serious risk to the $27 billion export trade for months or even years. The federal government has estimated the total cost of damages from this outbreak could reach $80 billion. Victorian Farmers Federation President Emma Germano has called for a total ban on passengers bringing food into Australia on international flights. And she joins me right now. Emma, thank you very much for your time. Let's put this into some context. Finding FMD in meat products is not a new occurrence, but having it in products on supermarket shelves is about as close as you can get to a livestock or to our livestock. How concerned are you that we're getting closer and closer to what could be a crisis?
Farmers all around the country are absolutely terrified. This is something that would bring our industry to an absolute standstill, and it would have major implications to Australian consumers who just want to eat Australian clean fresh meat. It would be catastrophic for our export markets. This is something that no one wants to allow into the country, and so we're saying the very simple measures for biosecurity. We should be throwing the kitchen sink at this right now, not thinking about it once we've already had this cataclysmic event, and then say, oh gee, we probably could have done some more to stop it coming into the country in the first instance.
I want to get to what the Minister has done and also said today about where we're up to in this biosecurity effort. I first of all want to get from you what needs to be done. You're saying that we should stop all passengers bringing in any food internationally. And do we stop travel between Indonesia and Australia at this stage?
In regards to passengers bringing food into their luggage, no one's going to have a big cry over the fact that they can't bring some food into their backpack or into their suitcase to bring back into Australia. There's nothing to be lost by saying to people, just don't bring it in. Sometimes customs can be quite confusing. Is it a cooked product? Is it in plastic? Is it dead bulbs? Is it live bulbs? And a lot of people just don't understand how to fill out the customs declaration form. Of course, we know some people don't declare things at all and they just bring things in. I think a blanket ban on that sort of thing, at least in the short term, where we've got this, very big crisis and this different environment in front of us, is something that every Australian should be happy to support. In regards to shutting down travel, it's a little bit more complicated than that. We have a very good trade relationship with Indonesia and many countries around the world. We don't want to do things that are going to impact their economy, their food security, their people over there in Bali and the rest of Indonesia, because we're a trading country, and we've got to continue to support Indonesia in getting in control of their outbreak and throwing some decent money at it. And I would say that at this point in time, the government hasn't given Indonesia the support that they need. We need to ramp that right up, because it's far easier to prevent it from coming in and spend the resources there than trying to work out how to deal with that outbreak once it arrives on our shores, if it does so.
OK, let's go back to what you said at the beginning of this interview about using the tools you've got, going all out to protect our country. I want to play you something that the Agriculture Minister, Senator Murray Watt, said on the ABC this morning.
So it's really a matter of continuing to ramp up the measures to make sure that we're covering every possible move. The other point about this, of course, is that this biosecurity is everyone's business. It is a shared responsibility.
Covering every possible move. Now, given the fact that he had tools at his disposal, say 2 weeks ago, like foot pads, which he's now bringing in, given the fact that he could have easily had mandatory screening 2 weeks ago as well, which they've only just started to introduce, has he done enough to protect this country?
Without taking sides, I guess the reality is Australia hasn't been doing enough in the biosecurity realm for the last 10 years. So, no, it's not enough. And when we knew that there was an outbreak in Indonesia, it should have been, immediate screening of every passenger that came off a plane from Indonesia. It should have been the foot pads to raise that awareness. We know that foot pads are not all they're cracked up to be. There's people that have shoes in their bags. We've got to make sure that every single passenger is exposed to that biosecurity message. And it's just something that we do as a matter of course, understanding what's so important about following those customs declarations and things like that. the form that we fill out when we come back into the country, as most people who have done so will remember, it says, have you been on a farm or with farm animals? In Indonesia, you can have cows across the road from resorts. You can have cows meandering through resorts, and people aren't going to be thinking to themselves, oh, did I step on a cow paddy while I was walking on my way to the pool? So even that in itself is probably not adequate. We just need to have every Australian who's coming back into the country, from any country actually, to be aware of why biosecurity is so important to not just our agriculture industry. People think that the farmers talk on their own behalf because we're worried about our own hip pocket. This is something that could cause the meat to run off the shelves in 2 seconds flat, and all of a sudden, Australians won't have that product available to them in the supermarket. It's coming at a time where we've got pressures on other products in supermarket lines, and if we think that the supermarket shelves looked bare during COVID, what will happen if an outbreak of foot and mouth disease was to happen? It'll look worse than that, and it will be sustained for some period. So it's really, really important that every Australian takes it seriously, and the government does everything it can to make up for some lost time, because we need them to act. We need them to act now, and we need more resources available in biosecurity. We've been saying it for decades. Couldn't be more important than now.
One quick one before I let you go. I was sent a tweet from a viewer this morning which claimed that at Melbourne Airport, a family of 5 flew in from Denpasar on Saturday morning. The dad declared they'd been on a farm and expected footwear to be cleaned. They were told, don't worry about it, and they walked straight through. We've got to ensure that at that custom point when people arrive in this country, there's no slackness and there's no exemption, don't we?
Absolutely. It has to be every passenger coming off there. They need to be told about their shoes, their luggage, those things that are in the bags. We just can't have people bring in beef products and pork products and whatever else. It just has to stop. There has to be a better understanding across Australia and the whole public that this is something that we are so lucky that we're girt by sea. Let's not wait for things to arrive here and then say, oh, gee, we could have kept this out far easier than now what we lose in our industry and in regards to our food security. And people think that I might sound like I'm Chicken Little and the sky's falling in, but we absolutely have to be considering our food security. It's linked to our national security. We probably haven't had to think about it for decades, and all of a sudden we're seeing lots of products on the shelf skyrocketing in costs. We know that input costs are increasing. We know we don't have enough labour to service the agriculture industry. There's so many compounding factors right now: energy prices, water issues. You name it, Australian farmers are facing it. And the reality is that it is going to impact every Australian. The things that we're talking about do impact every single Australian when you go to buy your food at the supermarket.
You've nailed it completely. Emma Germano, thank you very much for your time.